much for that wonderful introduction, and thank you for the opportunity to speak about finance. You know, I love it. And in times like the ones we are going through now, it's very important that we get comfortable, confident, and close to our finance. So I wanted to talk to about financial resiliency. It's a term not used very common, but is what is financial resiliency? It's the ability to maintain your spending and living standards during an economic emergency. So this last month and a half or two, you know, and potentially the next 6 months are going to be periods where our economy is adjusting little by little, and it's a period where things are not going to be as normal as before. So can we live with can we continue doing what we're doing before, or should we adjust some of our behaviors? Financial resiliency also is the ability to withstand life events that impact your income and assets. So let's talk a little bit about things that can be changing. So let's say there are two incomes at home and suddenly there's only one, or maybe there is still the two incomes, but the hours are being reduced, or there are other expenses now. So is the topic of finance something that makes you nervous? And if so, are you addressing the issue, or are you kind of leaving it by itself because the topic gives you, you know, butterfly in your stomachs, right? So what are the most important events that change the financial composition or the mechanics of your home? Of course, unemployment, divorce, disability or health issues, moving from one country to another also changes your economical outcome. And also big things that affect not only the family, but it can affect the society. Like right now, we're going to COVID-19, recessions of the economy now, so we have the combination of the two. Also, obviously, living in Texas, last week we had a drop of the oil price to -40. So there is so much oil everywhere that now there's no enough people using it in such a way that the price dropped significantly. The stock market, downturns of the economy, act of terrorism, and obviously weather-related circumstances. As all of us know, we went through Harvey, 2 years ago, and Katrina and Irma, and all of these events have really, really changed the way our economy works and affect our finances. Next one, please.
Maria, did we?
Number 10. Number 10. I'll go back one. Thank you. Thank you. So now, resiliency, financial resiliency is like a muscle. The more you practice and the more you exercise, the stronger it gets. So the more we talk about and have knowledge about our finances, it can be in our business or in our personal life, the more we're going to be comfortable, we will know how to address the ins and outs, and we know how to adjust accordingly. So how can you enhance your financial resiliency? So obviously increasing your financial well-being is something that makes you comfortable. So if you increase your resources, you increase your savings, you are fully protected with your health insurance, if you have good income from your job or your business. But there are things that come that are separated from the money. That is the way you look at the topic. It comes from you, from inside. So number one, in crisis or emergencies, you need to try to stay as positive as you can. So when you see a challenge, like right now, we see that many restaurants cannot sell their food, but then you see also an opportunity, because now a lot of the restaurants are online. A lot of the restaurants have done partnerships with Uber. They have developed new fancy restaurants, have developed meals on the go that you can have at home. So number one, go back one slide, please. Number one is to stay positive, even if you see as a big deal. There, in every crisis is when new products and services have been created. Number two is to stay focused on what you're doing. Determine what, not to get distracted by the noise of the news of the people. Determine where you're headed and stick to your goals. So let's talk about the reality right now. The reality is that if you have a job, maybe your job have reduced your hours. If you have a business, maybe you are not selling as much as before. So it's important that you sit down and say, okay, what is my target goal for April, for May, and for June? Be realistic and stay in that zone. Don't let negative energy move you away from your center. The third one is be flexible. So be open to different options so you can face uncertainty with open arms, right? It's here, it's there to stay, it's gonna change. But if you're flexible, and what is being flexible? For example, looking for alternative. If you have a business and you have a product, maybe that product is no longer useful at this point, but maybe you can do something parallel. I was looking the other day in Facebook or in YouTube, and I was looking at a new service that teach you how to do your hair. So the color expert cannot be, you cannot go to the salon, but they can teach you how to mix it and apply it online. That's a creative way to have a professional service and for create loyalty with your clients and use the technology to keep your clients involved. In the personal side too. So if before you used to go to restaurants, now you can have them coming to you, or the same with your services, right? Number four, stay organized. Number one thing I tell not only my personal friends, but also my colleagues and my clients. These weeks have been critical. So if we were not that busy or we were safe at home, it is still the perfect time when you should go over your financial records, your paperwork. You try to make it as fun as possibly be, maybe put some music, maybe prepare something nice to eat, but it is the time to have your files organized, coded, and because the cleaner they are, the easier you can find information. It is the time to put together your documentation for your CPA so you can have your 2019 taxes ready. If one of the number one issues what the small business couldn't apply or were delayed in applying is they did not have the financial statements or the income tax ready to submit as backup for their support. So please organize your documentation, create a filing system for 2020, close 2019. Maybe there is some money there going your way, coming back from the IRS. So this will be a time for you to take advantage of having the time. And finally, the fifth tip is be proactive. Work with the change. Work with, don't fight the change. It is what it is. And if you work with that, you will be more successful than you fight the fact that we need to stay at home, that we need to protect each other. This is one of the tips that will make you go through these and come out on the other side successful. Next one, please. So while we're waiting for that, Now I'm gonna give you thank you, 10 tips, 10 very practical tips that you can use to enhance your financial resiliency and enhance your financial life in general. So remember that there is not one big secret that will make a big difference. These things come in small pills, and it's the sum of your actions and your reactions and your activities that will make you have a better result. So number one, and so every small change will take you to that direction, right? This is like the diet. Every day is every decision counts. So I'm going to stop in number one because this is the hardest and culturally the most difficult. We need to talk about money. We need to discuss finances. We need to sit down in the dining room table and have the conversation about what we have, what we don't have, what we owe, and do it in a factual way without feelings. This is not a topic of feelings or opinions. At this point, this is a conversation about facts. If my secret or my tip for all of you, when you know, in every family, one is the saver, one is the spender, one is the risk taker, and the other one is more conservative. So when you talk about money, try in order to keep it linear, let's stick to the facts without opinions. So how do you stick to the facts? For example, how much income we're perceiving is a fact, is A plus B. How much money we're spending in rent or mortgage is a fact, is A plus B. There is no opinion. So start with the facts that don't cause arguments. And also another topic here, culturally, sometimes this is left to be handled by one of the partners. And I think this is important that both partners are involved. If you give your power away, you have no say so in if something fails. Not necessarily the other partner is an expert on the topic, and he or she may be doing the best that he or she can. If none of you are comfortable talking about money, you can call an expert. You know where to find me. I have done hundreds or not thousands of these discussions, not only in a personal side, but also in the professional side. And I'm telling you, I stick to the facts, no opinions, no sides. So let's talk about finance. Pull your numbers and start the conversation. If all you remember of this chat is this tip, if you start and you overcome this conversation successfully, you are already in a good way to build financial resiliency. Okay. Number two, maintain an emergency fund. Okay. So you would tell me, well, I didn't, and now it's too late. Okay, it's not too late. There's life after this, right? So if you have an emergency fund, people talk about 3 months. I don't recommend anything less than 6 months. Now, it's not built in one day. It's not built in 1 year. It's built along the years. It may take you 1 year, 2 years, even 3 years to get to that. But it's not the amount of money that you make, but it's the habit that you develop. So if all you can do is save 1% of your salary, then save 1% of your salary or your income. Is as your income goes higher, you can save 5%, or if you get a raise or you get a special contract, put that money towards that. I can guarantee you have gone through this, through the death of a parent, to move into another country, through divorce, through diseases. 6 months, it is almost like when you're at the end of the 6 months, you're just getting back to normal. So no less than 6 months of not all the expenses, but the main expenses. So if you have, which will be one of the topics, your budget here, we have it in topic 3. So I will talk a little bit more about that. But Make sure that your emergency fund is in cash money or equivalent. So here I'm going to insert a term called liquidity. Liquidity is how fast you can convert the value of what you have into cash. So, for example, if you have an emergency, a family member needs to go to the hospital today, and you are asked today to give a down payment to the hospital for your family member to be admitted, then cash is when you can take and put into the bank. That will be cash, a check, or a credit card. But if you have a building, you own a house, you cannot take the house and put it into the hospital. You need to sell the house in order to pay the hospital. So cash, bank, and credit cards are liquid, more liquid than the house or the assets that you need to sell to convert. So when we talk about emergency funds, we have to buy food tomorrow. So make sure that the money that you have in your emergency fund is liquid enough that allows you to cover for that emergency. And that takes me to the budget. What the budget is the second most important, well, the third after the emergency fund thing that you need to do. And it doesn't have to be super technical. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be fancy. You don't have to, if you don't know Excel or you don't have an application, you can do it even with the sticky notes. So use a sticky notes to write your income in one color, and use a sticky notes in other colors to write your expenses. And you go over category by category. So mortgage, rent, food, gas, insurance, cell phones, and so on and so forth, right? Every time I meet with a client and I ask them what is the amount of expenses that you have, they always underestimate the expenses until you go back and you break it down. We normally at least underestimate the expenses by 20%. So do you work little by little and you will go, oh, I forgot. We also buy, a gift, and also we buy these. So make sure you do a very detailed work with the budget. Excuse me. Then if you realize that it's not enough money, that you're short of money, look for additional temporary income. Sometimes maybe your main, hold on one second. It could be that your main job has reduced the hours or is going to stay closed for a little bit more. There are other companies that are desperately looking for jobs, and sometimes you can have a temporary job. So that's no reason why you should let your income and your finances go down because your job is not high or higher, busy at this time. Next page, please. Point number 5 is we need to continue to pay our obligations. Our obligations are our rent, our mortgage, our car expenses, our utilities, our student loans. If once you have done your budget and you see that you are kind of short, right now we're in emergency mode, please pick up the phone and wait what is needed to talk to a person in your bank. And if you cannot pay your mortgage, do not hide behind the phones. Pick up the phone and call them and say, listen, I cannot pay my car note right now. Is there any way that you can push it 1 month so my long term can move 1 month? Is there any promotion of 0% interest? Can I open a different credit card? So look for solutions. Don't say anything. And contact your lenders and see what kind of offers they have. You can say due to coronavirus, I have lost my job, or I have less income. I will not be able to pay right now, but I want to pay. So what do you have for me? You will be surprised what you learn. Now, credit cards. Please, with your credit cards, write down, put all your credit cards in front of you. If you have 1 or 10, the system is the same, and write how much you owe and what is the interest rate. You will be shocked to see that your interest rate can vary anyway from like 9% all the way to 25%. So we don't look at this interest box at the end of your statement very often. So write it down, and I want you to number these statements. The highest interest rate first and the lowest at the bottom. So you start paying from the highest interest rate to the lowest is what I recommend, because you don't want to be paid, if you're paying 25%, see if you can transfer that to a 0% interest until things go back to normal. And the same, if things are short at this time, you can make a personal loan. You can call your bank, your credit unions, and if lasts, you can also, if you are under a lot of need, maybe your family or friends can support you for a little bit. The personal loans are based on your credit score. So that, one more time now, it's very important that you have kept your credit score clean and high, and it measures obviously your payment habits. And now is a time that it comes very handy. The higher your score, the lower your interest rate, because it tells them that you are responsible. So their risk is lower. Now, if you still see that you are kind of short and maybe you need more, look around in your house, look around in the list of your assets. Assets are things that you own. So you can either sell them or you can rent them. Let's say you have a summer house. Let's say you own a luxury yacht, or you have something, or you have a room in your house that is empty. So you can rent to a student, for example, to get some additional income. This is a good time to evaluate how you consume things and what are important to you, and if certain luxury items are something that you want to continue to keep in the future. Now, more than ever, we have education and job training online and complementary. Most of the universities, most of the colleges are offering at this time many thousands of classes at no cost. So if you have time and you think this is time to polish your skills, so maybe because you are in the oil industry and you don't know what is going to happen with your job and you're scared about your income, it is the perfect time to have the discipline to use this time to get trained, educated, and polish your skills. So if you need to put things in your social media, then we can ask somebody to train us how to use Instagram. If you want to become a queen in Excel, then you call me. I love that. If you want to learn how to sell insurance, it's a great time to get your credentials. So use the time wisely to elevate your credentials that can help you to potentially compensate an income is needed. Number 8, increase your knowledge on financial topics. Of course, the more that you know, the smarter the decisions you're gonna make. So not only I do this, there is tons of information on the internet. If you want, you can subscribe for my YouTube channel. I have many videos there where I talk about financials and what is important, and obviously you can call me, but don't increase your knowledge. The more you read about a topic, the more you understand, and the better your decisions are. Number 9, I have seen 2 of these today. with clients. Be aware of financial scams. This week, I don't know what is happening, but there's out of control. Yesterday, one of my clients got an email that QuickBooks was demanding $1,000 from them. And if they didn't pay in like 2 hours, all the accounting information was going to be deleted. They called me scared. Obviously, I called the number that they had there. It was somebody from an Asian accent, and they hung up the call on me. Today, I received another email from another client saying that they were going to delete the credentials to access another system if they didn't give them the bank information. Please be very aware of the financial scams. And finally, don't forget that Houston is blessed with tons of community resources that are complementary. So you have a SCORE, you have SBA, you have HCC, you have the Chamber of Commerce, you have Baker Replay. You have tons of places where people will support you at no cost, and there are tons of classes that you can take and tons of tips that are easy to follow, so and easy to kind of little by little start getting into your life and into your habits. So next one, please. So I want to close saying financial knowledge gives you freedom. Do not give your power away to anyone. It is your power, and it is your responsibility to become aware of what it is and to manage your finance and to partner in the family to go to where you want to go. Please know your numbers. Please reach out to the community, to me. You can follow me. The social media is right there. Obviously, you can call me at any time if you have any questions. And I wish you health and wealth and friendship. And thank you for the opportunity. And I welcome any questions at this time.
Awesome. So this is our big Q&A here. So can you guys hear me? Yes, I hope so. Okay, perfect. So let's unmute everyone. Everybody unmute yourself. And this is a great opportunity to ask Soledad some questions. Don't run.
So what is the number one concern you guys have with finance at this time?
Let's see.
I think for me, oh, this is Irene, sorry. I think for me, my number one financial concern is getting some of my student loans down. And I know that like there was like talk of, well, I work for the government now, so I'm under like a plan where it's like within 10 years they'll forgive the rest of my debt if I make equal payments based on their income driven plan. But it's still, I would want to get rid of that beforehand if possible, just because it weighs on, it's there, but it weighs on me in the back of my mind. So just kind of planning for that and seeing what I can do, where I can pull from. And every time, I know that like every time I get a raise at work, I kind of put 30% of that raise goes towards a fund where I'll push it towards my debt. But that's a concern for mine, just kind of like paying off those loans.
Yeah, I think when we get student loans or any loans, we have a financial responsibility and an integrity responsibility to pay that back at the best of our abilities, because that was a mechanism in which you were allowed to study, and now you have a better job or the job that you were looking for, and with that education, your income level is going to be higher and exponentially is going to grow throughout the years. So I think the idea here is to set up the plan, and as you're doing perfectly, Now, every time you get a raise, I always said, the time I got a raise, I give one little bit for me. So I do something that I was looking for. I buy something special for me that I really wanted, some shoes or some dress or, a day in the spa, whatever that I deserve. And everything else after just one, or maybe a restaurant or a trip, and everything else goes to pay that, because I didn't have it, I didn't feel it. If I don't, I'm not gonna miss it. I didn't have it before. So, but you're gonna be so excited the day you finish paying your student loan. So, and it took you many years to consume that money. It will take many years to pay that money. So do it step by step. That's the only way.
Soledad, I like the idea that what you're putting in our heads and putting in front of us is that we have to be intentional about our money.
Mm-hmm.
Very intentional. I know I did not grow up in a household. There was a lot of conversation about money, more about the money we didn't have versus the money we were going to make or save or any of that. And it's unfortunate that that is still taking place in our society, because unfortunately when somebody passes away or there's an emergency, now there's things called GoFundMe, so people are GoFunding funerals because they're not planning ahead for these things. There's a tragedy, like you mentioned, they're using other resources and hoping that people will pass the basket and hope that people will give.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the conversation you had around liquidity, because if we're all literally, if we're not intentional about our savings, we're literally one emergency from a financial heartbreak or, that we can't recover from, or can take a long time to recover from. So I really appreciated that that kind of just that highlight you spent there, because that's where intention about money gets us every time.
Yeah, and I want to add something. We are fortunate, either we were born in this country, or our parents brought us here, or like me, I immigrated here, that this is a country that in general doesn't have many crises. Things go up and down. Then you have an industry doesn't do good, then you go to the other one, but you can always find a job in another industry in another city. But I come from a country that crisis did happen, and we were destroyed by El Nino floods for 10 years. The government didn't come and save us. So I am used to crisis, and I was raised preparing. It's normal. It's not something that, sometimes the electricity company didn't have electricity for a couple of days or hours, months of water. So I think what coronavirus has done for us is that in a way has burst the bubble, that nothing happens within the borders of the US that big, and that happens in other places. And it doesn't here, and I think it's for the things had happened here locally in New Orleans or in Texas, but in general, the country keeps moving. This is the first time in our generation that the whole planet has stopped. And so now the new concept is, I knock on wood, and hopefully this, nothing like this happens again, but we are aware that we can be facing a standstill. And what do we do? So now more than ever, we need to make sure we have an emergency fund. Then we can at least, there's nothing I can do to control the coronavirus besides keeping distance and protecting me. But there's something that I can contribute, that at least my family is living a basic, healthy life.
Yeah. Well, I think this is wonderful, and I want to just go to our next slide. And what is the takeaway? What's one takeaway from today's lesson that, the conversation that we've had today, that all of us can, begin to start thinking about? And I know that all of us heard something new, were reminded of something. So I would love to try to get you guys to unmute yourselves and share what that takeaway is. That gives Soledad a chance to understand that she did have some impact today. So please jump in.
I actually had a question. uh, Soledad.
Who is this?
This is Beatriz.
Hi, Beatriz.
Hola,
Hi.
Beatriz. Mhm.
So I recently left, well, it's about a while ago. I left my employer and they let me keep, I do have a job right now, thankfully, yeah, but they did let me keep the stocks I had with the company. So I wanted to know if there's any reading material or advice on just like understanding the stock market.
Wow. They let you keep what? I couldn't hear you. They let you keep what?
They let me keep my share of some stocks with the
Okay.
company.
Oh, you want to understand if you want to keep for the company, right? You have company shares.
Yes.
Okay. So there is an ocean of material about shares and how the stock market works. You know the company inside, which is a super plus. I don't know how long you work there, but you have a better insight. So there is no one specific book, but I'm going to write it down. If I find something like a 101, I send it your way. I'm going to ask Yvette for your information. But in general, check, go to a library and go to the investment section and look for the bestseller, the most purchased. Sometimes they have 101 if you want to understand how the stock market works and if you should keep it or not. It's very specific to your company and it's very specific to the industry. So I wouldn't be able to give you a general answer for that.
Okay.
So just educate yourself. If you like, one of the positive I can tell you is that if you like the management style of the company and you think they do in general, they have an eye in the future and they make sound business decisions. So you know the culture if that give you confident how that is handled, then probably it's good that you have them.
Okay.
If you need, but the answer also depends on other things in your life. It's not an isolated answer. So if you have a 401k, if you have other elements, so in that case, if when and if you sell your cash, you probably are better off having a holistic view of your age and your retirement time and all of that. So to say when is appropriate for you to do that.
Well, yeah, I was like, I've taken like I've practiced some of the things that you spoke about in this presentation of just pretending like this extra money was, doesn't exist. So that's how I've been treating those shares, because those were just given. I didn't invest. That's not my money. They were just given to me. So
well, you earned them. You worked there. And
yeah, I worked for them. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
They didn't give it to you for free. There's a
Absolutely.
reason why they gave it to you.
Correct.
Thank you. Just real quick, everyone, since we are just clicking into our Zoom link, if you like this presentation or like this to hear from Soledad, in comments, can you please put your email and then we will copy and paste it and give that information to Soledad and she can reach back to you. And then for those of you who want the presentation slides, we'd be happy to forward those to you because they can serve as a great reminder. So I appreciate that. Any other takeaways? Because we like to try to finish on time, ladies. I know that if you are interested in sharing something, will you please unmute yourself and share? So with that, I wanted to say something to you, Soledad, again. I take my notes. There's a saying in Spanish, todo que brilla no es oro.
Sí.
Okay. And I started thinking about when you were saying all these credit cards, banks are really not trying to get the little money you have. They're trying to get you to react to desperately to some of these offers. And I really appreciate the fact that you highlighted the fact that these things are happening and they're happening to people that you know. I think we always take that third party credibility into consideration. We've heard it on the news, we've seen it, but to hear it from someone like you who's saying, look, these things are real, be aware of it. Because one thing you mentioned was call your credit card company and see if you could defer your payments. But also, you have to ask another question. Yes, they're willing to defer the payment. It sounds really good, but then what is the consequence of deferring your payments for 5 months? Is there an increase in your, do they increase your principal? Do they tie it on? Does your interest rate go up? I mean, I know all of those things, but I really appreciate that you touched on that, because right now we're kind of emotional and we're tired and we're trying to find solutions, and what we think is a solution is not. So I'm speaking from experience, because I've read something and I clicked on it and I thought, oh, this is really good, and then I can say, oh no, I need to get out of this. They're fishing. They're just trying to get my info, and I don't want anybody's spam mail. Has anybody else experienced something like that?
No.
Yeah. So recuérdense, todo lo que brilla no es oro. Everything that shines is not gold. Okay. So, all right. Well, wonderful. Any other comments from anybody? What's your biggest takeaway and why? At least one.
Stick to the facts. Remember, to avoid confrontation in the families, it's not about opinion. I think you're spending too much money. It's not a good way. I think, you buy too much clothes, you have too many toys. It's not a good way. Stick to the facts. Make a list. This is like a grocery list shopping. Make a list and stick to facts. There is no arguments with facts.
Yeah, no arguments. I have one last thing, and then we're going to jump back in. But for Beatriz, just a point of reference for you, on Facebook, there's an incredible lady. Her name is Julie Stav, S-T-A-V. Sam, Tom, Apple, Victor. Es cubana. She does a lot of her presentations in Spanish. I keep forgetting the lady with the cool hair on CNN who talks money all the time. Some of you may remember her name, but anyway, she is a Latina who helps, who does a lot of different things. And even on her Facebook page, she talks about the smart, she has books on finance, especially about the stock market. And on her Facebook page, she has a host of different programs that talk about the stock market and how we need to get involved in that as a community, and most importantly, as women. And all of you who still work for a corporation, remember, a lot of times your 401k is stock market based. So you have to ask yourself, when the oil and gas market was disrupted last week, you're thinking, oh my God, people are unemployed. I want to say to you, oh my God, what happened to your 401k? And if you thought you had a couple 100,000 or $1 million, you lost a lot of money. So to Beatrice's point, she may have a few stock options that she has in her pocket. I want to just put this onus back on you. You need to be involved in the stock market because your future depends on it. Your 401k depends on it. So that's my 25 cents. How's that?
That's why you need to have a diverse portfolio. So
but you have to know what that means. You have to know what that means.
It's like a bowl of salad. You need to have strawberries, blueberries, pineapple, and watermelon. Yeah. You cannot only have one type of fruit.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and just minimize. We're going to go back to the slide. So Maria, I'm going to get you to click here in a second. Thank you. So we didn't have a chance to share. So Maria, if you can click for me. Thank you so much, Soledad, for your time and your expertise. I mean, you really kind of sacaste las musarañas. You took those cobwebs and you really made us think a little bit about our money. And ladies, remember something really important. As women, as Latinas, your financial mastery is how you live and how you lead. The things that you can do in your community for your family is based on money. So we got to get smart in money. So thank you, Soledad, for sharing your expertise with us today.